A former corrections officer at the Kent County Jail says he didn't know possessing and distributing marijuana butter was against the law.
Brian Tennant says he only gave the butter to his wife and 3 other corrections officers who all had medical marijuana cards. But today he was sentenced to 5 years probation and ordered to pay a $10,000 fine for operating a drug house.
WZZM 13's Phil Dawson is here to explain why.
Well, Brian Tennant violated several laws pertaining to marijuana. He does not have a medical marijuana card and he is not a patient caregiver, so the law does not allow him to distribute marijuana. And even if he was a caregiver, edible marijuana products like butter are not covered by that law. And as a corrections officer, the judge said Tennant should have known that.
Are you ready to be sentenced at this time?
Yeah. Before he was sentenced for operating a drug house, former Kent County Jail corrections officer Brian Tennant told the judge he didn't know.
Your Honor, I believed I was operating within the law. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong.
But the judge said ignorance of the law, especially for a 20-year employee of the Sheriff's Department, is no excuse.
As a certified sworn law officer, we would impose to you the responsibility of knowing what the law is and its requirements.
Tennant was one of 4 Kent County corrections officers, all shown here at their preliminary hearings, arrested when police traced a shipment of marijuana butter to the Belmont home of medical marijuana caregivers Alyssa and Timothy Scherzer. The Scherzers were giving the butter to the officers. Tennant's wife and the other 3 officers have medical marijuana cards.
Clearly, this was entirely a medical situation. There was no indication that the marijuana was provided to inmates or other officers.
But marijuana butter, brownies, cookies, none of those edibles are permitted or protected by the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act.
Mr. Tennant technically broke the law. He didn't know what he was doing was illegal.
He delivered product to other patients, and he's not a caregiver, and he can't do that.
And in receiving 6.5 pounds of marijuana butter and brownies, you should reasonably know the limits or requirements of dealing in this drug.
Tennant also loses his job in the Sheriff's Department. So far, he's the only one of the 4 accused corrections officers to be punished. 49-year-old Sergeant Timothy Bernhardt also pled guilty, and he was scheduled for sentencing next week, but he died on November 16th. The other 2 officers are waiting to go to trial.